The Tomb of the Unknowns is probably the part of Arlington Cemetery I'm looking forward to the most for my children. I know that it's going to be something that sears into their conscience the idea of dedication and service and being willing to do your duty no matter what the circumstances are.
Coming up to the Tomb of the Unknowns, which is the most solemn, sacred part of Arlington National Cemetery. It was established right after World War I when the remains of an unidentified American were chosen to represent all those men and women that had paid sacrifice, whose remains were never identified, was placed here in Arlington National Cemetery. And then a few years shortly after that, the permanent guard was placed that now walks and has been in place ever since.
Well, it started raining really hard the minute we were walking over to the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, and I was thinking, oh man, this is not good. We are gonna all be soaked.
Colonel Birdwell starts talking about how these guys will stay out there and do the changing of the guard and defend that tomb no matter how bad the weather.
And that guard will follow General Order Number 1, which is I will not leave my post unless properly relieved. In fact, back in, I think it was 2002, when Hurricane Isabel came up the East Coast and up the Chesapeake, the guards here were actually offered the opportunity to return to their guardhouse to get out of the weather, but they remained at their post even during Hurricane Isabel coming through.
I thought if these guys can go through that to guard that tomb, the least we can do is stand there and honor them and see that ceremony with rain.
I was definitely most excited about seeing the Tomb of the Unknown, the changing of the guard. I've seen videos of it, but to see it in person for me is a lot different. It impacts me a lot more. You get that experience there. And of course, we were right in the middle of pouring rain.
We were soaked completely, but it was worth it. It was I would do it 10 more times, standing in the rain just to see them.
It must have taken a lot of practice to just get everything down. It was like perfect how they just switched and everything. It was really cool.
It also showed how committed they were and stuff. And it really, I mean, if that doesn't ignite a fire in all of our hearts, I don't know what does.
Watching the boys and Cameron stand there in the rain, they were soaking wet, standing so stoic and somber, watching the changing of the guard. And I think the rain just added an element to it that made it even more special.
As I looked in their faces and I realized they're miserable physically and the determination on Reagan's face that I'm gonna stand here and be a part of this ceremony with these guys that I know are doing this 24/7, 365 days a year, it made the whole trip worth it.
Yeah, it was cold. It was windy. It was freezing. It was raining. I mean, we were soaked. We were drenched. But I mean, that only added to the experience of what we were watching and the burden that those guards carry and what we have to carry as a generation and our responsibility. I mean, the first general order: I will not abandon my post until I am properly relieved from my duty, until the next generation has come and picked that up, until we've passed that torch on. That's what we here need to do. That's what we're doing from the past generations. I will not abandon my post unless properly relieved. That's the motto I'm gonna go by, and that's my responsibility until I die.